Blake felt a rush of questions flood his mind. Where had she been? Why hadn't she contacted anyone? Why fake her death and vanish like that? And most of all, why come back now? She finished her last few rounds, calmly packed her pistol and zipped up her case. Then she turned to leave. That's when Blake made his move. He stepped away from his lane and walked over, slow and steady. "Excuse me," he said, voice low. She paused, her hand on her bag. Her eyes lifted to meet his. For a split second there was nothing. No fear, no surprise, just a quiet stare. Then he saw it. A flicker of recognition in her eyes. Blake spoke again. "Where'd you get that tattoo?" Her jaw tensed. Her eyes hardened. "I earned it," she said simply. And just like that, Blake's world tilted. Because now, he knew for certain, Ava Kessler was alive, and whatever had kept her hidden all these years wasn't over yet. Blake didn't move right away. For a moment he just stood there, staring at the woman he thought he'd never see again. Ava didn't look away. She didn't smile. She didn't flinch. She simply met his eyes with that same steady calm she used to carry into war zones. The noise of the shooting range seemed to fade into the background. Everything narrowed down to the space between them. "I thought you were dead," Blake said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. Ava looked around for a second, checking if anyone was watching. Then she nodded toward the side exit. "Not here," she said. "Come on." They stepped outside into the parking lot. It was quiet, just the distant echo of shots from inside. She leaned against her truck, arms crossed, eyes scanning the horizon, like she still didn't trust the world. Blake stayed a few feet away, trying to process what was happening. "We searched for you," he said. "For weeks. You just disappeared." "I had to," she replied. "If I'd come back, they would have followed. They would have killed more than just me." "Who?" Blake asked. "Who are they?" She hesitated, then looked him in the eyes. "The mission wasn't what they told us. That op in Kabul? There was more to it. We were being used. I found out too late. And when the blast went off, I took the chance to vanish. I knew they'd cover it up. I knew they'd say I died. I let them." Blake clenched his jaw. "We deserved to know. I deserved to know. You were family." "I know," she said softly. "And I'm sorry, but disappearing was the only way to stay alive and to keep you all safe." He took a slow breath, emotions boiling under the surface. Anger, relief, confusion, all of it crashing together. "Why now?" he asked. "Why show up here after all this time?" She glanced down at her hand, the one still marked with that old tattoo. "Because they're looking again," she said quietly. "Something's changed. I felt it. And if I'm going to survive this time, I can't do it alone." For the first time in years, Blake saw it. Behind her calm, behind her strength, Ava was scared. Sat in her truck for nearly an hour, the windows rolled down, the summer air still and heavy. Ava told Blake everything. The mission in Kabul hadn't just gone sideways, it had been set up from the start. Their team had been sent in to extract a supposed asset, but what she discovered was darker. Illegal arms deals, double agents, and a high-ranking official using Ghost Team 9 to clean up his mess. When she tried to report it, the explosion happened. Convenient. Timed too perfectly. She was meant to disappear in that blast, and when she didn't, she knew she had to vanish on her own terms. "I stayed off the grid," she said. "No phones, no contact. I changed my name, moved from place to place, never stayed long. But recently, I saw faces I recognized. People watching. Someone's digging again." Blake listened without interrupting. His hands were clenched in his lap. The thought of Ava surviving all that, alone, with no one to trust, it hit harder than he expected. "You should have come to me," he said quietly. "I couldn't risk pulling you into it," she replied. "But maybe I was wrong. Maybe I stayed quiet too long." He looked at her, really looked, and for a moment he saw not the ghost of a soldier, but the friend he'd thought he lost. She was still in there. Tired, worn down, but not broken. "We can fix this," Blake said. "I still have contacts, people I trust. We don't need to hide anymore." She gave him a long look, then finally nodded. "Then let's finish it." The wind picked up as they stepped out of the truck. The sky was starting to change, clouds rolling in, gray and heavy. It felt like something was ending. Or maybe something was finally beginning. They didn't say much after that. Ava handed him a burner phone and a list of names. Blake gave her a worn patch from his old uniform, the one with her name still sewn into it. She held it in her hand for a long time before tucking it into her pocket. As she climbed into her truck and started the engine, Blake stepped back and gave her a simple nod. She returned it. Then she drove off into the fading light, no longer a ghost, but a soldier stepping out of the shadows, ready to take her life back. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit like and drop your thoughts in the comments. Share it with friends who love mystery and thrillers. For more gripping tales just like this, subscribe to Truth Crafters, where every story reveals a hidden truth. She walked into the shooting range like she didn't matter. Silent, calm, unnoticed. But when a Navy SEAL commander caught sight of the tattoo on her arm, everything stopped. His hands trembled, his eyes widened, and in that moment the quiet woman everyone ignored became the biggest mystery in the room. The shooting range was loud, as always, a mix of sharp cracks from handguns, the deep boom of rifles, and the metallic scent of oil and gunpowder hung in the air. People came and went, some chatting between shots, others focused and silent. It was a place where no one asked questions, just came to practice, let off steam, or train. That's why nobody noticed her at first. She walked in alone, dressed in a black hoodie and faded jeans, her face partly hidden beneath a baseball cap. She didn't look dangerous, just quiet. The kind of person you'd glance at once and forget a second later. She signed the logbook with no name, just initials. The guy behind the counter didn't ask questions. She rented lane 9, took a small, worn black case from her backpack, and walked to her spot. Her movements were steady, calm, almost too smooth. She set up like she'd done this 1,000 times before, no hesitation, no fumbling. Then, without a word, she opened the case, pulled out a matte black 9mm pistol, and loaded the magazine with clean, practiced motion. She took a breath and raised the gun. Her first shot hit center mass, so did the second, and the third. Controlled bursts, nothing flashy. She didn't react. No grin of satisfaction, no frustration, just steady breathing and perfect posture, like it was muscle memory. A man a few lanes down glanced her way, eyebrows raised. It wasn't that her shooting was flashy, it was precise, surgical. She wasn't showing off, she was remembering something. What made it all stranger was how invisible she made herself. No eye contact, no noise, no phone, no small talk, no music in her ears like most people had, just focus. She reloaded in under 5 seconds without even looking. A couple of regulars noticed, nudged each other, but said nothing. Nobody wanted to get involved. Some folks come in to practice, others come to forget. And she looked like the second kind. By the time she emptied her third magazine, one man in particular had begun watching her a little too closely. Not because she was pretty, not because she was good, but because of something she hadn't noticed. The left sleeve of her hoodie had slipped up just enough to reveal a tattoo, and that tattoo was not one most civilians should ever have. Commander Blake hadn't planned on coming to the range that day. He wasn't the type to waste time, but something about the morning had pushed him out of the house. Maybe it was restlessness. Maybe it was memory. Either way, the former Navy SEAL needed to feel the weight of a weapon in his hand again, even just for an hour. He walked in quietly, nodding at the guy behind the counter, who recognized him right away. Everyone at the range knew Blake. Solid, sharp, the kind of man who looked like he still lived in the fight, even though he'd been retired for years. He chose a lane without saying much and started unpacking his gear. He brought his own. Always did. A custom-built .45, cleaned to perfection, with grip tape worn from years of use. As he loaded his first magazine, his eyes drifted down the line. Not because he was looking for anything, but out of habit. Situational awareness was hard to turn off when you'd been trained for war. Then he saw her. She was 2 lanes down, still shooting. Her stance caught his attention first. Military, no doubt. That wasn't something you learned from watching YouTube. That was real training. Then he noticed her reloading speed. Fast. Clean. No wasted motion. His mind clicked into gear. She wasn't just good. She was trained. But something else pulled at him. Something familiar. That's when he noticed the tattoo. It was small, black, almost hidden on the inside of her forearm. Just a few lines, shaped like a falcon, with wings curled inward, claws tucked under. Blake froze. That mark was burned into his memory. He'd seen it only a handful of times in his life, and every time it was on the arm of someone in one of the most secretive SEAL teams ever formed, Ghost Team 9. Officially, it didn't exist, but Blake had served with them, operated in the shadows, and he knew exactly what that tattoo meant. Only 10 people in the world had earned it, and one of them was Ava Kessler. She was declared dead nearly 9 years ago, lost in a mission that went bad overseas. No body was ever found. They all assumed she didn't make it. But now, as Blake stared at the woman down the lane, his heart began to pound, because either his eyes were lying, or Ava Kessler had just walked back into the world. Blake didn't fire a single shot. He just stood there, watching her. Every movement she made confirmed it for him. This wasn't some look-alike. It was her. The same calm precision, the same focused stare. Even the way she breathed between shots, steady and controlled, was exactly how he remembered Ava Kessler during missions. She hadn't changed much. Maybe a little older, a little harder, but it was her. And that tattoo, that was proof enough. You didn't get that mark by accident. You had to earn it through fire. For a long moment, he thought maybe he was wrong. Maybe she'd turn, and her face would be completely different. Her face would be completely different. And maybe it was a trick of the light, a coincidence. But when she turned to grab her case and reload her last magazine, her cap shifted just enough for him to see her face. His breath caught. It was her. No doubt. Ava Kessler. The woman who vanished during that mission in Kabul, presumed dead in a blast that destroyed half a compound. They'd held a memorial. Her name was on a plaque. He'd been there, silent and angry, wondering how they lost her when she was the strongest operator among them. Now she was here, at a public range, just shooting, like she hadn't been missing for nearly a decade.